Hi, we're back to present the maintenance section for the Classic Series single head adjustable pump. Before we get started, there's something that we need to cover, right, Karen?
That's right, Bill. Before working on a pump, always follow the complete safety and operating instructions in the installation and maintenance manual.
And don't forget the required personal protective safety equipment. Use of this safety equipment is mandatory.
In addition to the precautions that come with your pump, you must always follow the recommendations of the chemical manufacturer or the material safety data sheet, and check local codes for additional guidelines.
Preparing the metering pump for service can vary by application, but in general will consist of the following steps. Pump a compatible buffer solution through the pump for several minutes to clean the chemical from the lines. Turn the motor on-off switch to the off position, which is down or to the rear of the pump. Disconnect the suction line from the pump tube suction fitting labeled in the pump head cover. Before disconnecting the discharge side, bleed off any pressure. Then, disconnect the discharge line from the pump tube discharge fitting, labeled out on the pump head cover. Unplug the power cord. If the power cord plug end has been removed, modified, or the metering pump has been directly wired, do not continue. Consult an electrician to aid in disconnecting the pump from the electrical supply and to properly reconnect the pump's electrical supply. To replace the coil, disconnect power to the pump. Separate the feed rate control and pump head from the motor. Remove and set aside the motor base. Remove 2 motor cover screws. Invert the pump and use the pump head and feed rate control as a stand to work on the motor. Remove the fan and set it aside. Disconnect the ground wire with eyelet and set the screw aside. Cut the power cord and coil lead wires from the motor cover at the wire nut and set the cover to the side. Remove and set aside 2 coil screws and washers from the rotor bracket and plastic amber bearing bracket. Remove the coil and discard. Install the new coil over the rotor. The correct orientation is with the 2 copper rods in the upper right corner with the vent opening at the bottom of the gear case. Place the bracket back on the rotor and securely seat into the new coil. Install the screws and washers and fasten the bracket to the coil. With the metal band facing the bracket, press the fan flush on the rotor shaft. With wire strippers set at 16 gauge, strip approximately 1/2 inch from the power cord and the on-off switch lead wires in the motor housing. Secure the ground wire with eyelet to the motor coil. Crimp the stripped lead wires to each of the new coil lead wires. Tuck the wire nuts into the bottom of the motor cover and secure the cover back in place. Before tightening, reverse cover screws to catch original threads. Put the motor base back on. Apply power to the motor and test.